Hello everybody. For lesson 1-12, there is no new content. I just wanted to go over real world problems so that by the end of this short presentation you will have seen 2 examples of solving real world problems and explaining why the answer is reasonable. For our first example, the problem says Zoe had a board 5 1/4 feet long. She cut off a piece. Now the board is 3 5/6 feet long. How long was the piece she cut off? Well, I know that I've got the information 5 1/4, 3 5/6, and she cut off the piece that is 3 5/6 feet long. So those words lead me to believe that this is a subtraction problem because we are taking away from the original amount. The question is, how long was the piece she cut off? So first I'm going to go ahead and solve the problem. 5 1/4 minus 3 5/6. You'll have to excuse the puppy in the background who is barking at the squirrel outside. So first I see that 4 and 6 are not common denominators, so I need to find a common denominator. I'll start with my 2 little equal signs, and then so I don't forget, I will write the whole numbers. I know that 4 and 6 share a factor other than 1, so in my mind I am listing the multiples. I'll do it out loud for you. I'm going to start with 6. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. I know I can stop there because 12 is also a multiple of 4. So I will start the denominators of my new equivalent fractions with the denominators of 12. 4 times 3 gives us 12, so I'll multiply 1 by 3 and I get 3. 6 times 2 is 12, so 5 times 2 would give us 10. Now I cannot subtract 3/12 minus 10/12, so I know that I have to ungroup. I'll take 1 whole, which leaves me with 4, and since I'm trading that in for 12/12, and I already had 3/12, I now have 15/12. 15/12 minus 10/12 is 5/12, and 4 minus 3 is 1. So I am saying that the piece of board that Zoe cut off was 1 5/12 feet long. Why is it reasonable? Well, I know that 5 1/4 is approximately 5, and 3 5/6 is approximately 4. It's very close. 5 minus 4 is 1 foot. So I could say that this is reasonable because the answer I came up with, 1 5/12, is well, it's between 1 and 1.5 feet, and that is at least close to 1 foot. Here's another example like you will see on both the quiz and in the homework for this section. This is a 2-part problem. Max is making trail mix. He combines 2/5 of a pound of dried fruit and 1/3 of a pound of mixed nuts. He adds sunflower seeds to make a total of 1 pound. The question is, what is the weight of the seeds that he added? Well, if I know that the total amount of trail mix is going to equal 1 pound, and that is a combination of 3 different things, I can think of this as a kind of like a part whole, except I have a part whole. So he added 2/5 of a pound of dried fruit, 1/3 of a pound of mixed nuts. I don't know how much he added for sunflower seeds, but I do know that the total amount works out to be 1 pound. I know that when I am trying to figure out the total amount, I add 2 parts. Here I'm trying to find a missing part, and usually what we do is we subtract the total minus 1 part, but here I don't have just 1 part. To make 1 part, what I would first have to do is add 2/5 plus 1/3. And that will give me the part that is made up of the dried fruit and the mixed nuts. I cannot add these the way they are now because 5 and 3 are not common denominators. So I'll start with my 2 little equal signs. First question, does 3 go into 5 evenly? No, it does not. Do they share a factor other than 1? No, they don't, because they're both prime numbers. So I'll use product of the denominators. 5 times 3 is 15. So I'll start my equivalent fractions with the denominator of 15. I multiplied 5 times 3, so I'll do the same thing to the top for a total of 6. And on the bottom, I multiply 3 times 5. I'll do the same thing to the top, which gives me 5. 6 fifteenths plus 5 fifteenths is 11 fifteenths. Now, I could look at this as (11/15) plus something will equal 1 pound. As mentioned before, when we have a missing part, we can subtract one part from the whole. So I am subtracting 1 minus 11/15. I know that 1 is the same as 15/15. So 15/15 minus 11/15 is 4/15, and I am going to say that Max used 4/15 of a pound of sunflower seeds. Now, why is it reasonable? Well, let's think about it. He added 2/5 of a pound of fruit with 1/3 of a pound of mixed nuts and 4/15 of a pound of sunflower seeds. And I'm saying that that should be close to 1 pound. Well, I know that 2/5 is pretty close to a half. 1/3 is also pretty close to a half. And 4/15 is not much at all. So I'm going to have about 1/2 plus about 1/2 plus about nothing. And I know a half plus a half is equal to 1 pound. So I could say that this is a reasonable answer.